I want to play some audio for you all tonight here. I want to play some audio that some of you may be surprised about, but I warned you and told you that this was coming. Because when they realize that we're not losing, when they're realizing that there's some battles won, when you start seeing, understand something, there's a lot of Negroes who've been carrying the water for white supremacy because they told themselves, niggas ain't never gonna win. I'm siding with the winners now because this is just the way it's gonna be. And as soon as things start looking difficult, now they start trying to find a way to ease on back over. Now I want to play for you all some audio here tonight so that you can hear it for yourselves that some people, if you want to know what emboldens people to attack us, here's some audio that reminds you why. And some folks think they can play this game.
One of the things that I'm going to leave open for discussion today as well, the release of this video in Chicago, 17-year-old by the name of Laquan McDonald, his final moments, when a police officer by the name of Jason Van Dyke shot him 16 times on a city street. He was charged yesterday with first-degree murder. I watched the press conference. Rahm Emanuel, mayor of Chicago, along with other city officials. I'm trying to be careful with my words here. You see, I'm one of those people who knows an awful lot of black police officers. And so when black folk are in the streets protesting about police brutality and police violence, I'm always careful to draw the distinction between police brutality as opposed to brutality by a certain few police officers. I'm here to say the hell with all that. And if it comes across as if I'm indicting an institution, it's because it's time for the institution itself, meaning law enforcement officials, to do something about what the hell is going on. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. This kid gets shot 16 times on a street, and this charge with first-degree murder took 13 months to happen? How the hell is that?
I'll tell you how the hell that is, Stephen. And for those of you who didn't recognize his voice, that was no less than Stephen A. Smith from ESPN. First Take. Mr. What About Black on Black Crime himself. That was him. I'll tell you why it is, Stephen. I'll tell you why. Now I'm going to play a little bit more of you here. But I'll tell you why here, Stephen, if you really want to know.
Took 13 months to happen? How the hell is that? This is, usually we're talking about sports, and I'm just a passionate individual. I don't like being called some angry black dude. You can call me that right now. You have my okay. This ain't sports. This is life. 16 damn times? You pump bullets into this 17-year-old, and it takes 13 months for a charge to come up? We got a case in Oklahoma where some police officer has been sexually assaulting women, 13 different women.
Now, you notice Stephen A. said 13, he said women, 13 different women. These were black women, Stephen. Why did you not simply say what the problem is? The problem is that this is a white cop who has been able to rape over a dozen black women. Why is it that Stephen A. didn't say that? Why did he edit his remarks? I guess when you've been living on the plantation for so long, you kind of just reflexively do it, huh?
In a 2-year span, and this man is on trial. What the hell is going on? I have been on the record saying there's a difference between police brutality and brutality by a few police officers because you don't want to taint the many. But maybe you need to taint the many for the many to raise up and call out the few so the few can be dealt with expeditiously and viciously so this can stop. Maybe that's what it's going to take. You're Rahm Emanuel. You're the mayor of Chicago? How the hell are all of these murders taking place under your watch? I mean, call a National Guard if you have to. This chaos. Where are our politicians? What are they doing? You got law enforcement officials being lawless? If they can't obey the law, what hope do we have? How is it going to be anything other than mayhem and anarchy? You think citizens are just going to stand idly by while law enforcement officials break the law?
Sounds like Steven's talking on some G stuff right here. What does that mean? You think you're just going to stand idly by? Because Steven was one of the main voices in Baltimore and in Ferguson saying that black folks should not be out in the streets. Black folks should not be rioting. He was number one on TV saying we shouldn't be doing that. Now he's going to turn around and say, y'all white folks better watch out now. You think we just going to sit by his? Yeah, you will. You damn sure will. I don't know. Maybe somebody at Starbucks didn't put enough cream in his coffee or latte or something. And now he's gone to the radio to vent his anger. I don't know. But from the main guy who said that black folks should just go home, him and Ray Rice. Y'all know him. Old Ray Cornbread and Rice. Y'all need to go home. Y'all wrong now. This here did you do is wrong. Him and Stephen A. were the mascots telling black people in Ferguson and Baltimore, go home. Now he wants to try to flip it and use the righteous indignation of others, the people who actually did get up, do some work, and he's going to use that to threaten people. You better sit your ass down.
I've also been on a record where people interpreted my comments about Black Lives Matter and their movement. All I said was that you shouldn't boo a presidential candidate for saying all lives matter. But I got news for you. My level of sensitivity is heightened exponentially when you consider this kind of nonsense going on. Because it's obvious that all lives matter. But the reason now why it seems pertinent to say Black Lives Matter is because it's becoming increasingly evident that it does not. You got black people like myself and others doing everything we can to try and give other folks the benefit of the doubt. And this kind of stuff been happening and nothing gets done. 13 months later, after pumping 16 bullets in a teenager. See, this is why black folks get upset. Because when they bring up police brutality, and then you have the Black Lives Matter movement, and I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with all the protests against all police officers, just like I don't agree with every little single thing about Black Lives Matter. But I understand its purpose, and I understand the overwhelming argument, and it needs to be dealt with. Yes, there's black on black crime. Yes, we need to deal with that too.
There he goes. That didn't take long.
Yes, do a lot of harm to each other. Yes, we need to deal with that too. Nobody's absolving my community from the wrong that we do, but it doesn't absolve your behinds.
Didn't take long for him to jump out there with that now, did it, boy? Didn't take long for him to turn. Even the first time he's ever actually stood up and said something, didn't take him very long to turn this back around on the black folk, did it? Didn't take long for that little turn to happen. It was too good to last now, wasn't it?
We do, but it doesn't absolve your behinds. Purpose, and I understand the overwhelming argument.
Let me play that again for you.
Yes, there's black on black crime. Yes, we need to deal with that too. Yes, black people do a lot of harm to each other. Yes, we need to deal with that too. Nobody's absolving my community from the wrong that we do, but it doesn't absolve your behinds. You're an institution. You're law enforcement in this country. You breaking laws? You doing this kind of nonsense? I don't need to know but so many details. Don't tell me there's an excuse to pump 16 bullets into a teenager. And oh, by the way, we saw the video. And oh, by the way, there's like, what is it, 86 seconds or whatever that's been erased? What happened? What was said? Was there a cover-up that took place? What the hell's going on? Where's those 86 seconds? Where is it? A lot of us in various communities, black, Latino, and beyond, so many of us do what we can to bring civility, common sense, and calm to whatever discourse is taking place. But these law enforcement officials who are breaking the law are making it increasingly hard. And if our government doesn't start stepping up in a more expeditious fashion and start handling things with the expediency it deserves, you're going to have some problems. I'm not provoking anybody to do anything. I'm not inviting anybody to do anything. That would be irresponsible. I am telling you, people are getting tired of it. And I'm one of them. This is ridiculous.
I agree, Stephen. It is very much ridiculous. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to respond to that because really there are other people who are waiting for other folks to respond. They're waiting for Corey to say something. I don't know if anyone else has spoken on this, but tonight I want to say something about this. Here at the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought, from the director of 7 a.m., from the Black Authority, from the Haven of Intelligent Black Society, from whatever I may be, I would like to address what we just heard tonight, and specifically, I want to address you, Stephen A. Smith. I want to address you. How the hell you think you gonna say something like this? After everything you've done to empower and embolden these people? And you got the nerve to sit up here and say, how could this happen? It happened because they spent years now, not months, years, hearing you be their specially paid lapdog, running up on TV on ESPN, which has more authority with young males in this country than the evening news. And they have listened to you as a black man defend violence against us over and over and over and over again. That's why. Because they were waiting to see the backlash against them, and you came to try to short circuit it and blunt it and stifle it. That's why. Because individuals like you and Ray Lewis, not Ray Rice, if I say Ray Rice before, I meant Ray Lewis. Individuals like you and Ray Lewis who said, there's a check in this, and I got to defend that check. And the problem is, Stephen A., you told these people that your soul was for sale, or at very least for lease. And they put the money down on it, and you gave it up. And I'm here to say tonight, Stephen A. Smith, you will not walk this backwards. You are on the record, Stephen. Oh, you're quite right about that. You are on the record. You are on the record defending white supremacy. You are on the record absolutely condemning black males, talking about domestic violence. You turn every conversation into an opportunity to attack black men. White men do something, you turn every conversation into an opportunity to attack black people. And now that apparently, I don't know, because ESPN has again announced they're going to lay off hundreds of people again. They're bleeding millions of subscribers. I don't know. Maybe somebody put a bug in Stephen's ear that $2 million that ESPN wants to pay him, they're like, ooh, man, we should have rethought that over. Yeah, that was a lot of money to give you, Stephen. Yeah, a whole lot. Can we get that check back right quick? Don't know if that happened to Stephen, but I do know that when a nigger like this sits up here and starts talking this way after he's been soft-shoeing and buck dancing and cooning as long as he has, somebody done told him something. He's not doing this out of principle, because if he had any principle, he'd have been standing up against this mess in Ferguson and Baltimore and everywhere else. He'd have been standing up against this before now, and he didn't do it. So he's not going to sit up here and tell us today this is about principle. So Stephen A., I don't know why you're doing this exactly. I don't quite know just yet. It'll come out, though. The truth will come out. I don't know what is motivating this turn of face that you're trying to do right now, but I am here to tell you that your pass has been revoked for life. You do not get to come back. You are not forgiven. You are not excused. Your excommunication and your exile is permanent. The hammer has been swung. You have no place among Africans. Because when the chips were down and when it was all on the line, you sided with them. You like them so much, you can stay over there. Our community. Who you referring to, Stephen? You don't have a community. You don't have one. What community are you talking about? You're not talking about black people, because you're not part of that. You might be part of the coon community, you might be part of coon society, but you ain't with us. You see, you had your choice to choose to be a field Negro or a house nigga, and you chose the house nigga. So that's where you gonna stay. You are gonna stay over there. Because now that the tide is turning, the house niggas start coming out. They start finding their old rags. See, they were wearing the nice clothes that Massa gave them. They were wearing those when they thought Massa was winning. Soon as it looks like Massa starts losing, they go back in the closet. They kept them old wild shoes they had. They kept those just in case the slaves start revolting. Hey, I'm dressed like y'all. Hey, down with the Massa. Down with the Massa. We free at last. Free at last. No, sir, you do not get to come back here and weasel your way in. There is no forgiveness for your kind. Absolutely not. We hold the line. That we recognize who our allies are and we recognize who our enemies are. And we will regard them both accordingly. So don't look for a pass. Don't look for a pardon. You're not forgiven, and you're not excused. We don't want you, we never had you, and we don't need you. And you are not going to get us to overlook what you've done. So you can get as animated now, for whatever reason you're doing it, you can get as animated as you want. Because you see, if you had displayed some of this indignation, but while you were sitting in front of Skip Bayless and that white woman talking about what about black on black crime, We're talking about white police gunning folk down. You said, what about black on black crime then? We're talking about black men and domestic violence overlooking the whole damn rest of the league, and you took that as your opportunity to see, I'm not like the rest of these niggas. I ain't like them. Let me show you how badly I can talk about them. You and Charles Barkley riding the train, and now you're going to spin it? No, the time for you to be displaying this righteous indignation was when you were kissing Skip Bayless's ass. The time for you to display this righteous indignation was when you were kissing Michelle Beadle's ass. The time for you to display this righteous indignation was when you were sitting up here telling black folk to get out of the streets in Baltimore. How dare you sit up here and tell the people who risked their lives and sacrificed their freedom to be in the streets in Baltimore, staring down the barrels of the guns of soldiers in the middle of the streets. And you were sitting up here impugning them, criticizing them, mocking them. And now you're going to try to jump your ass up a year later and try to say, yeah, I was with y'all the whole time. Was right here with you. Yep. It was all good. It wasn't all good when you were talking like this then. It wasn't all good then. No, buddy, this is a one-way trip for you. I don't know you. Real recognize real, and you looking damn unfamiliar. I don't know you. We don't know you. We can't break bread with you, because what we know about you ain't no good. And I want to take this chance tonight to say I want the word to go out to everybody. Don't just talk about he's a coon, this, that, and the other. Don't just say that. Let's make it very clear that we understand what you're trying to do, Stephen. Which I consider to be ironic because of the movie Django Unchained, Stephen. But we understand what you're trying to do. We see you, nigga. We see you. We see what you're trying to do. You're trying to ease on back over to this side because something has happened and you realize either your credibility is at stake or your income is at stake. And now you want to ease on back over. And that's the part I want everybody here to recognize. Don't let him come back over here. There is no forgiveness for the crime of high treason. You are guilty of treason, Stephen A. Smith. You are not just a person who said some inflammatory things. You are not just a person who said some contrary things. You are not just a person who said some oppositional things. You are a traitor to black people. You are guilty of treason against us. And I'm saying it in no uncertain terms. If there's ever a definition of race traitor, you're it. You are it. When the system was sharpening its blades and raising its guillotines and knitting together its nooses, you were sitting right there saying, y'all just need to sit and be quiet while all this here going on. And now you think you're going to turn against your masses all of a sudden? Now you think you're going to turn tail and run? You're going to hide back over here under us because it looks like the field Negroes got the momentum behind us? Abso-damn-lutely not. There is no place in black society for black men and black cowards. There is no place. And I will not sit up here and tell the thousands that listen to us that somehow this is all about you being a coon, because that's not what this is really about. When it comes down to it, when you got the brass tacks, when you get to the bottom line, you are a traitor. And we should deal with you in that context. And traitors don't get to come back to the table of the people whom they have betrayed. You get to do that to black people one time. And I tonight am going to exercise this, and I know that Professor Truth backs me 110%. Tonight we're going to exercise some judgment that should have been exercised on the Civil Rights era, should have been exercised in Reconstruction, should have been exercised on the plantations themselves. That when you got some nigga that sits up here and turns against the people, and you haven't had the chance to deal with them appropriately, and then they try to snivel their way back over next to you, that you cut them off. And you make it clear that you deal with them in the harshest terms. You're not with us. This should have been done hundreds of years ago. We are going to hold the line tonight. Stephen A. Smith, if this was meant to be your apology to black people, apology rejected. We have nothing for you and want nothing to do with you. I want you back over there. Don't talk like this to me now, nigga. You get back over there on Sports Center. You get back over there on First Take. Talk the way you've been talking. That's the Stephen A. Smith I know. Talk the way you've been talking. Tell me about black on black crime and how the police ain't all bads. You get back over there and do that. That's the Stephen A. Smith I know. That's the Stephen A. Smith I remember. That's the Stephen A. Smith I want to see, because it is better to have an honest enemy than a false friend. And you trying this old false friend crap? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. You get on a no less an influential channel than ESPN, and you could at least stand up for black men. You could at least do that. You want to sit up here and go jump off on SoundCloud and try to hide your hand? We'll talk about it, but let's talk about it on the low. But when you get the big microphone, we's our own worst enemies. Well, you know what, Steven? Get the hell back over there and be the worst enemy then. I don't want black unity. I want black empowerment. There is no such thing as power when you join with coons and traitors. Bedwenches, whores, and sluts. You can't get power like that. And if we take Stephen A. Smith back now, then everything that we've done has been for nothing. If we forgive Stephen A. Smith for what he's done, then everything that we have talked about here in Intelligent Black Society, it is done. It's over. If we give him a pass. So I am trying to set the example tonight of how you deal with this. He is a traitor. He is guilty. And he will not be forgiven for it. There can be no other option. When you hear him now trying to rehabilitate his image, he is trying to construct some credibility for himself because there's something else he wants. This is what these opportunists do. He just goes where he thinks the best opportunity is, and we need to show him that there are no opportunities to disrespect black people twice. That's a strike you get to make one time. But we're not going to let you back in so that you can wake up here in another week and talk about, see, I just wants to be fair about this here. When white folks is wrong, I talk about it. And when black folks is wrong, I talks about it. No, we're not going to play that game. When you've got dead black men, that's a damn good reason to be in the streets. That's a damn good reason to be setting something on fire. That's a damn good reason to turn this son of a gun all the way up. And when somebody sits up here and tells you that you should meet your own death with silence, he is a traitor to you. And to every young black person in the sound of my voice, it is not incumbent upon you, and you are not required to forgive traitors. And for your own best sake, and your own best interest, and your own survival, you better not do it. You better learn a vocabulary of empowerment, recognizing your enemies. You better learn that. Because Stephen A. Smith told you to sit silently while they killed you. Literally. He sat there and wanted to deflect onto you when you were getting killed and saying that the problem was with you. He wanted to help change the subject and steer the conversation in a different direction. So if tonight I set the tone for anything from here going forward, and I don't know what anybody else has said about him, and I don't know what anybody else will say about him, but tonight I want to set the tone if I can, and the rest of you I hope will do the same thing. Stephen A. Smith, Charles Barkley, Halle Berry, Barack Obama, and all the rest of you who have decided that black people are the enemy and you're going to see how many trinkets and treats you can carve off for yourselves against us. You will never be forgotten. You will never be forgiven. Your names will be remembered in infamy as the enemies of the people that you are. Stephen A. Smith is not just antagonistic. Stephen A. Smith, you are an enemy of the people. And we are the people, and we have passed judgment.